All right, B.Block Podcast. Brandon Scott here. Appreciate y'all for being here with me. If you haven't already, make sure you are subscribed to the B.Block Podcast wherever it is that you get your podcast. Also on YouTube as well. Probably the best place to find us is YouTube. You can participate in the comments. Hopefully you subscribe to that page. That would be big for me. But I didn't come in here to do self-promotion. We got to talk about Cristian Javier. We got to talk about the Houston Astros and specifically Cristian Javier. It's not time to press the panic button on the Houston Astros necessarily. They're 5-3. They are, I think, much better at the plate in terms of their plate discipline and their pitch selection. Talked about that a couple of days ago with Chandler Rome on the off day going into the A's series. Talked about that on Thursday. If y'all haven't found that, make sure you do. If you're listening to this podcast, you can find that on the feed, on the podcast feed, or on the YouTube page. Myself and Chandler Rome of The Athletic, where he covers the Astros on a daily basis. We talked about their start to the season, their 5-2 start to the season. But since then, we got another bad outing, poor outing from Cristian Javier, which is what I want to focus on here in this episode. So the Astros lost on Friday night. It's a good Friday. Wasn't necessarily a good Friday for the Astros. They lose 11-4 to the Sacramento A's, the Vegas A's, the Oakland A's. I don't know what we're calling them these days. Really don't. I'm gonna click on here just before I get into it because I'm actually real curious. What do we call the A's these days? Are they just the A's? It doesn't matter actually though, because no matter what you want to call them, they beat the Astros in this series opener. And if you're an Astros fan, in disappointing fashion. And Cristian Javier, another poor outing for the Astros veteran pitcher now, and somebody who I believe they are going to require a lot of throughout the season. So Cristian Javier once again gives up 6 earned runs. He did that in his first start against the Angels earlier in the season. And so now we have 2 starts with Cristian Javier, and with both of them, he's given up 6 earned runs. Okay, he goes 3 2/3. Again, gives up 6 earned runs on 6 hits, had just 2 strikeouts and 5 walks. Not too terribly dissimilar from the opener, his opener, I should say, which was the Astros' third game, where he goes 4 2/3, gives up 6 earned runs on 4 hits, and he walked 4 and struck out just 1. So in this game, he goes 1 fewer innings, but strikes out 1 more, walks 1 more. But that's not really the entirety of the story when it comes to Cristian Javier. That's not the part that I want to focus on, even though the walks is a big part of it and was costly in this game. And if he doesn't find some control and some ability to locate, it's going to be an issue. But the main issue that I want to focus on, and that's sticking out to me, is how Cristian Javier just is not missing bats anymore. And this has been an issue going back, I think, to the spring when a lot of the focus was really on the velocity dip. And now it's the velocity is around about where they want it, but the swing and miss is just not there. And that's a big part of what we're looking at. If you just look at his whiff and strikeout percentages through these first 2 starts compared to those numbers when Javier was at his best, which was a few years back, obviously before the Tommy John surgery, but think circa 2022 when Cristian Javier had a career year. You compare the numbers that you're seeing, again, in this small sample size, compare that to what we're looking at right now, or compare what we're looking at right now to the past, and it's just a troubling trend that we're seeing here on top of the walks, right? He's walking more batters, and that's the part that's really unacceptable. You can kind of maybe deal with the lack of swing and miss and work on the mechanics, which he talked about after the game that he's after Friday night's game that he's working on some things mechanically. And you can kind of work through that early in the season. But the thing that you cannot have is the free bases, the free base runners. And again, 4 walks in his first start, then 5 walks on Friday night. And it proved costly for them. So this is the part that is real troubling. All right, I want to pull up some of these numbers here, and I've got them on the separate laptop. So I'm going to pull this up here. Swings and misses, okay? Swings and misses on Cristian Javier's four-seam fastball, okay? We know that Cristian Javier's main pitch is that four-seam fastball. It has historically been referred to as the invisible. It was never the velocity on it, but it was the spin on it that really did the trick and induced the whiffs that he used to get. But on Friday night, he throws 82 pitches total, 38 four-seamers. He got 14 swings on those four-seamers. 14 swings at all on his four-seamers. And just two whiffs. Only 2 swings and miss on the four-seam fastball, which is his bread and butter. Now, it was much better with his sweeper changeup combination, where he got, looks like 17 swings and 7 swings and misses. But if you compare these numbers to his past and what the expectation is for Cristian Javier, like just look at the 22 season, he was at a 30% whiff percentage. Strikeout percentage was at 33%. This was all in the very good to great to like elite category. Top 82 percentile in whiff percentage in 2022, top 94 percentile in strikeout percentage in 2022. Now, again, in this small sample size, this would all be toward the bottom, like the bottom 7 to worst 7 percentile of the league. Okay, a 7% strikeout percentage and a 23% whiff percentage. He is not missing bats. And that is the issue, the main issue. He's also not throwing strikes. Not enough strikes with regularity. And what it's allowing the hitters to do, the opposing hitters to do, is to just kind of sit back, sit on pitches and take more pitches and really increase his workload, increase his pitch count. And that's what we saw on Friday night. The real disappointing part about it, aside from the results, is the opponent that he was going up against. You could have gone into this game arguing that this was a get-right game or supposed to be a get-right game for Cristian Javier, that he should have been able to go into this game against the lowly A's, who are, at least going into this game, was one of the worst offenses that you had in baseball. I know they had only played a couple series. Again, we're talking about the small sample size. But that A's lineup, which is young and it's got some talent in it, had the lowest batting average and the highest chase rate in the majors. But meanwhile, they just sat on that fastball, didn't really swing on it much, and only swung and missed at it a couple of times. And this is the trouble right now with Cristian Javier. He's not throwing enough strikes, and his bread and butter pitch is not putting the fear of God in anybody the way that I feel like it used to. And for the Astros, from a larger picture standpoint, and we talked about this, Chandler Rome and I talked about this in the previous episode, was that outside of Hunter Brown, the Astros are searching for that number 2 starter. like that clear cut 1-2 punch that ideally you would have. The one that they had last year between Hunter Brown and Framber Valdez, where you could have made the case that either one of those guys was the ace. And I think that Hunter Brown ended up making the definitive case by the end of it. But you had a legitimate 1-2 punch, right? Framber Valdez leaves and gets a big deal with the Detroit Tigers, and now he's part of their top 1-2 punch with him and Scooble. You don't have anything close to resembling that here in Houston outside of Hunter Brown, who is a stud and has been a stud, I think, in these first couple of starts. His first start was inefficient, but you could see some of the stuff. Like, he didn't have his best stuff, but again, as we talked about with Chandler Rome, did what aces do, which is make some things happen even when your best stuff isn't there, and also show some glimpses of your best stuff. His curveball was on, and then in the second start, he was flat out excellent. Who is going to be the guy to step up and be that number 2 guy after Hunter Brown in this Astros rotation? They got some solid starters. I think Mike Burrows has done roundabout what you would expect, but was he brought over? Did they trade for him to be their number 2 starter? Did they sign Tatsuya Imai with the hope that he could be their number 2 starter? Is Lance McCullers one that might emerge as that guy who could be their number 2 starter based off of the first outing that we saw from him, which was excellent? They're searching for it. They're trying to find who that guy might be. And I feel like the most logical candidate to have been that guy would have been Cristian Javier, or a version of Cristian Javier that's a lot closer to the 22 version than what we've seen post Tommy John surgery, which we're approaching 2 years now. That was in June 2024 when he had Tommy John surgery. We're now here in early April. So we're approaching 2 years since the Tommy John surgery. He came back last year, and we just have not seen him be as sharp, and certainly was not sharp in this game on Friday night. So the micro issue is just exactly what we talked about so far. Walking more batters and not missing bats anymore. The macro issue is, if he's going to pitch like this, then he's no longer a candidate to be that number 2 guy. Right? They're going to have to look for that elsewhere. And it's not just a numbers game. Hey, it has implications on each and every final score. It has implications on how the pitching staff is managed, particularly the bullpen. And what they're going to need is for their starters to be able to pitch well enough to go deeper into games. And Cristian Javier, again, 4 2/3 his first game, 3 2/3 in this game. That's just not going to get it done. Not going to get it done at all. We put stress on the bullpen, and we saw how that looked. Right? We saw how that looked, how the stress on the bullpen looked, and maybe the lack of trust in the bullpen. You get Cristian Javier's poor outing, and then Roderick Munoz comes in there and is not much better. Gave up the 5 earned runs in 1 1/3, 4 hits, and he also walked a couple of batters. So Ryan Weiss came in there and did the best he could do in mop-up duty, but by that point, the game was already over. You had already given up the 11 earned runs, and so much of that due to poor location, poor command, and giving free passes, which you just cannot do. So is it too early to be worried about Cristian Javier? Absolutely not. It is time to be worried. Now, they're going to, in that clubhouse, express confidence, but also just be real about it. Like, they need him to get ahead, to pitch ahead in counts, especially against an aggressive, it's water under the bridge now that he's had his start against the A's, but especially against aggressive lineups like what the A's are bringing to the table, you got to pitch ahead of counts. And the free passes, like, it cannot be. It cannot be. So whiff and strikeout percentages through these first two starts compared to the numbers that Cristian Javier had at his best, it is a troubling trend. It is no comparison. And again, you just cannot have it. Also, cannot have the walks. All of it is troubling. And again, I mentioned this. The A's lowest batting average and the highest chase rate. They should not be scoring 6 runs on you. It can't happen. It can't happen. Now I know we've got the fielding error, which is the point where I was ready to eject from the game. I did not, but as my girl who was watching this game with me, we were watching this game in bed, and when we got that error in the fourth inning, that pop up that Yanier Diaz just missed, wholly missed right there by home plate, which is really when the wheels fell off on this game and in the start. I fell out of the bed and just laid on the floor, face down for about 60 to 90 seconds, just to try to catch my breath. There's no cheering in the press box. There's no reaction in the press box. But damn it, I was watching this game at home, and there was no press box. It was just me in my bedroom, allowed to have the emotions that I truly have when I'm watching a catastrophic type of start or in a catastrophic type of outcome, and really just an embarrassing type of play that really allowed the A's to take it to the Astros. So it just got me thinking, man, do the A's have the Astros number right now? I believe they beat Houston 8 times last year. And if you win half of those, you make the playoffs. Just win a couple of those 8 that you lost to the A's, you make the playoffs. And then they lose this series opener with Javier once again not being as sharp as you need him to be. It's a tough look, a really tough look. I mean, you look at this, and Javier walked 5 of the 21 batters he faced. 3 of those eventually scored. The 6 hits and just 2 strikeouts. Again, it just shows how much he is really struggling to finish off the hitters. Okay, and Javier talked after the game. This is from the Houston Chronicle. Matt Kawahara from the Houston Chronicle was at this game covering it. And apparently Javier talked about not feeling the ball well. He mentioned a couple of times that the ball was a little too slippery for him to get a good grip on it, I guess. And it's something that, according to Matt Kawahara, that Javier reiterated a couple of times when they talked to him after the game. But 8.5 innings in his first 2 starts, and he gives up a total of 10 hits, 9 walks, 12 earned runs, 6 in each, right? And just 3 strikeouts on the season so far. And apparently the 5 walks that he gave up on Friday were the most that he's had in an outing since before the Tommy John surgery. So they need him in the zone, and they need him in the zone early in counts. They need him to get chases. They need him to be able to execute. He needs to be able to do that and again, to stay ahead in counts. You can't be walking guys, can't be behind in counts. It just can't happen. Now, I mentioned the velocity. The velocity is right where they want it, which was the more troubling part and I would say the bigger talking point in the spring was the dip in velocity, which he was getting decent enough results in the spring to where it was like, okay, maybe we can look past this. Spring is a time where guys are working on stuff. It's one of those things that you don't want to necessarily overreact to in the spring. And you don't want to overreact to early results that you're getting in the season when, of course, the baseball season is a marathon. So I'm not here to overreact. But this guy retires 5 of his first 6 batters. And then 10 of the final 15 that he faces, they reach safely. The 4-seam fastball, again, is bread and butter. Got just 2 whiffs. 14 swings on the 38 4-seamers and just 2 whiffs. Okay. And there were 3 hits. So think about that. 2 whiffs against the 4-seamer and 3 hits against the 4-seamer. There were more hits than whiffs. So they got to find it. They got to figure out how to get him right. And that's just what it comes down to. After the game, in Matt Kawahara's piece, I thought he put it well when he said it was an unsettling sight for a team hoping for a rebound season from their right-hander. If he's going to rebound, it's going to have to be a lot better than that. Okay, and I think that part goes without saying. It's going to have to be a lot better than that. And the Astros, I feel like, are still searching for that number 2 starter. Not the guy that's second in the order or second in the rotation. Right now, that's Mike Burrows. But I don't feel like Burrows, Javier, Tatsuya Imai, none of these guys have shown that they're ready to be that guy. Early in the season, we're not going to overreact to that, nor are we going to overreact to Lance McCullers reinventing himself and showing that he perhaps can be that guy. But I am very curious on who emerges and who sort of tanks a little bit. Because right now, based off the early trend, based off of the small sample size, they got some work to do with Cristian Javier. And that's just the long and the short of it. B.Block Podcast here with Brandon Scott. Make sure you subscribe. Check us out on YouTube. Check us out wherever it is you get your audio-only podcasts. All right? Rate us, review us, tell a friend. And until next time, y'all be good.